Hello everyone and welcome back. I've got my book. I've got my therapy friends with me. So without further ado, shall we begin? I hope you remembered where we were last time, people, okay? Because I'm not going back there myself. A basic scientific unit for transaction. Listen, got a leg itch. Okay. One of the reasons for the criticism that the psychotherapeutic scientists... Okay, let's start that again, shall we? One of the reasons for the criticism that the psychotherapeutic sciences are unscientific, and for much of the disagreement evident in this field, is that there has been no basic unit of study and observation. It is the same kind of difficulty as that which confronted physicists before the molecular theory and physicians before the discovery of bacteria. Eric Berne, the originator of transactional analysis, has isolated and defined this basic scientific unit. The unit of social intercourse is called a transaction. If two or more people encounter each other, sooner or later one of them will speak, or give some other indication of acknowledging the presence of the others. This is called a transactional stimulus. Another person will then say or do something which in some way related to the stimulus, and that is called the transactional response. Transactional analysis is the method of examining this one transaction wherein I do something to you and you do something back, and determine which part of the multiple-natured individual is being activated. The next chapter, Parent, Adult and Child, 3 parts of this multiple nature are identified and described. Let's get this right. That's better. We want some sort of levelness to this, don't we? Back to the book. That's it. Back to the book now. Transactional analysis also is the method of systematizing the information derived from analysing these transactions in words which have the same meaning, by definition for everyone who is using them. This language is clearly one of the most important developments of the system. Agreement on the meanings of words plus agreement on what to examine are the 2 keys which have unlocked the door to the mysteries of why people do as they do. This is no small accomplishment. In February 1960 I had the opportunity of hearing a fascinating day-long dissertation by Dr. Timothy Leary, not Timothy. Timothy Leary, who had then just joined the Department of Social Relations at Harvard University. He spoke to the staff of DeWitt State Hospital in Auburn, California, where I was Director of Professional Education. Despite the controversial responses he now evokes by his devotion to the use of drugs in the pursuit of psychedelic experience, I wish to use some of his comments here inasmuch as they expressed upon dramatically and may explain what he called his own zigzag course of sequential disillusionment. He said that one of his greatest frustrations as a psychotherapist was the inability to discover a way to standardise language and observation about human behaviour. I remember a while ago in a video, I can't remember which one it was, so there'd be no thumbnail on the screen. Someone did suggest I start taking magic mushrooms. I have no idea where to get those things. And the idea of taking a psychedelic type drug does kind of creep me out. Although the idea of improvement does appeal to me. Really does. Excuse me. Back to the book. I'd like to share with you some of the historical background of my immobilisation as a psychological scientist. As I look back, I can see that there were three stages of my own ignorance. First, which was by far the most happy. You could call the stage of innocent ignorance when I was possessed with the notion that there were some secrets of human nature. There were some laws and regularities, some cause and effect relationships, and that through study, through experiences, through reading, someday I would share these secrets and be able to apply my knowledge of all these regularities of human behaviour to help other people. In the second stage, which might be called the period of illusion and non-ignorance, came the disturbing discovery that although on one hand I knew that I didn't know what the secret was, Suddenly I discovered that, on the other hand, people were looking to me as though they thought I might know the secret or be closer to the secret than they were. None of the research that I did worked, nor did any of my activities provide any secret. But again, I could always say, well, we didn't have enough cases, or we must improve the methodology, and there were many other statements which I am sure you are familiar with. One can postpone the moment of painful discovery, but eventually the unhappy truth finally becomes apparent. That although many people may be looking to you and listening to you, you have patients and students, and you're going to PTA meetings and they are looking to you for the secret. Still, eventually you begin to think maybe you don't know what you're talking about. See? The nervousness is creeping in tonight. My back itches at the moment as well, but I'm going to try and resist that one for as long as I can. After this rare and revealing admission of doubts that few psychotherapists dare state, but many have felt, Louis continued at length in describing the various types of research in testing and cataloguing and systematizing which had occupied him and his staff. But in this endeavour he was confronted with the problems of no common language and no common unit for observation. Which natural events are we going to get in permanent form that we can then count, rather than studying natural free behaviour? I have been experimenting with the possibility of developing standardised languages for the analysis of any natural transaction. For all the poetic notions and musical notes and lyric strains that we use, words like progress, help and improvement are the most far out. We operate with too little information about ourselves and about the other guy. I don't have any theory about new variables in psychology, no new words or language of psychology, and simply trying to develop new ways of feeding back to human beings what they are doing and the noises they are making. The most exciting thing in the world to me right now is to get at the discrepancies between people involved in the same interaction. Because once you've got that, you have a question. How come? He deplored the emphasis of standardized language in human behavior, noting that stockbrokers, automobile salesmen, and baseball players do better. Even the automobile salesmen have their little blue books. And they've really done much better in behavioral science than we people who claim to be the experts. In sports, every baseball player, his natural behaviour is recorded in the form of indices, like his runs batted in or his earned run average. I know nothing about baseball, I will admit, so that, I'll be honest with you, those terms mean nothing to me, but I'm sure some of you do. To understand and to make predictions about baseball, if you decide you're going to sell your first baseman to get a right-handed pitcher, you have a raft of behavioural indices. They don't use poetic language like he runs after a fly ball like a deer, or he's an obsessive fielder. They tend to use behaviours. I have been pursuing a myth in trying to find the secret. I wanted to grow up and be a clever therapist and a clever diagnostician. All these hopes of mine were based on the assumption that there are laws, there are regularities, there are secrets, there are techniques which can be applied, and that study and research can bring these secrets to us. Transactional analysts claim to have found some of these regularities. We claim to have found a new language of psychology which Louis felt such a need of, and we claim to be a great deal closer to the secret of human behaviour than we have ever been before. In this chapter I have presented some of the basic information that has proved useful to a great many people who have been treated in my groups, using transactional analysis as an intellectual tool to understand the basis of behaviour and feelings. A tool often works better and has more meaning if we have some idea how it was developed, how it is different. Is it derived from authentic data, or is it just another theory? Was Burns' book Games People Play a bestseller because of a fad? Or does it offer people some easily understood and authentic ideas about themselves as they reveal their past in the present games they play? In the next chapter we begin the description of this tool by the definitions of parent, adult and child, because these three words have specific and comprehensive meanings, different from their usual meanings. Parent, adult and child will be capitalised throughout the book, as you will discover in the next chapter. Parent is not the same as mother or father. Adult means something quite different from a grown-up, and child is not the same as a little person. Chapter 2. Parent, Adult, and Child. Early in his work in the development of transactional analysis, Byrne observed that as you watch and listen to people, you can see them change before your eyes. It is a total kind of change. There are simultaneous changes in facial expression, vocabulary, gestures, postures, and body functions, which may cause the face to flush, the heart to pound, or breathing to become rapid. We can observe these abrupt changes in everyone. The little boy who bursts into tears when he can't make a toy work. The teenage girl whose woeful face floods with excitement when the phone finally rings. The man who grows pale and trembles when he gets the news of a business failure. The father whose face turns stone when his son disagrees with him. The individual who changes in these ways is still the same person in terms of bone structure, skin, and clothes. So what changes inside him? He changes from what to what? This was the question which fascinated Byrne in the early development of transactional analysis. A 35-year-old lawyer whom he was treating said, "I'm not really a lawyer, I'm just a little boy." Away from the psychiatrist's office, he was in fact a successful lawyer. But in treatment, he felt and acted like a little boy. Sometimes during the hour, he would ask, "Are you talking to the lawyer or to the little boy?" Both Byrne and his patient became intrigued at the existence and appearance of these two people, or states of being, and began talking about them as the adult and the child. Treatment centered around separating the two. Later, another state began to become apparent as a state distinct from adult and child. This was the parent and was identified by behavior which was a reproduction of what the patient saw and heard his parents do when he was a little boy. Changes from one state to another are apparent in manner, appearance, words, and gestures. A 34-year-old woman came to me for help with a problem of sleeplessness, constant worry over what I am doing to my children, and increasing nervousness. In the course of the first hour, she suddenly began to weep and said, "You make me feel like I'm 3 years old." Her voice and manner were that of a small child. I asked her, "What happened to make you feel like a child?" "I don't know," she responded, and then added, "I suddenly felt like a failure." I said, "Well, let's talk about children, about the family. Maybe we can discover something inside of you that produces these feelings of failure and despair." At another point in the hour, her voice and manner again changed suddenly. She became critical and dogmatic. After all, parents have rights too. Children need to be shown their place. During 1 hour, this mother changed to 3 different and distinct personalities. One of a small child dominated by feelings, one of a self-righteous parent, and one of a reasoning, logical grown-up woman, a mother of 3 children. Continual observation supported the assumption that these 3 states exist in all people. It is as if in each person there is some little person. Sorry, let's start that sentence again, shall we? It is as if in each person there is the same little person he was when he was 3 years old. There are also within him his own parents. There are recordings in the brain of actual experiences of internal and external events, the most significant of which happened during the first 5 years of life. There is a third state, different from these two. The two are called parent and child, and the third adult. See figure 1, and I'll quickly show you figure 1. See? There is figure 1. I think that's long enough. You can go back and pause it if you want to look more. We'll quickly go over it. At the top, you have the parent, then you have the adult, and then you have the child. These states of being are not roles, but psychological realities. Byrne says that parent, adult, and child are not concepts, like superego, ego, and ID, but phenomenological realities. The state is produced by the playwright of recorded data of events in the past, involving real people, real times, real places, real decisions, and real feelings. And that, people, is going to be it for tonight, because the bit about the parent is about to start. So we're going to say that for next time. I will do thank all of you for your feedback about this book. I will be continuing this to the very end. Even if it does take me as long as it's taken me. I mean, I've done that much so far. I will finish it, and hopefully we'll all learn something too. So until next time, people, please take care of yourselves. Bye.